What if I told you that everything we thought we knew about Stonehenge was completely wrong? Scientists have just made a discovery so shocking that it's rewriting history books and leaving experts absolutely terrified. What they found, buried beneath those ancient stones, is far more disturbing than anyone could have imagined, and it reveals a truth so dark that some researchers are questioning whether we should have uncovered it at all. For over 5,000 years, Stonehenge has stood as humanity's greatest unsolved mystery. This massive stone circle in the English countryside has puzzled archaeologists, historians, and scientists for centuries. But a groundbreaking discovery made just months ago has shattered every theory we had about this ancient monument. And trust me, what you're about to learn will make you see Stonehenge in a completely different light. Before we dive into this mind-blowing revelation, make sure to hit that subscribe button because we're about to uncover secrets that mainstream media doesn't want you to know about. Let's start with what we thought we knew. Stonehenge, meaning hanging stones, has been called everything from an ancient calendar to a burial ground. These massive sarsen stones, some weighing up to 50 tons, were somehow transported and perfectly positioned by people who supposedly had no advanced technology. The smaller blue stones came from Wales, over 150 miles away. How did ancient people move such massive stones across such distances? For decades, scientists had reasonable explanations. Maybe it was built by Druids, or Romans, or even aliens, according to some theories. But every single one of these explanations is about to be obliterated by what researchers discovered deep beneath the monument. Here's where things get absolutely terrifying. Using ground-penetrating radar and advanced scanning technology, scientists from the Stonehenge Hidden Landscapes Project made a discovery that sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. They found something that wasn't supposed to be there, something that suggests Stonehenge's true purpose was far darker than anyone imagined. Hidden beneath the famous stone circle, researchers discovered an extensive network of underground chambers and passages. But that's not the shocking part. Inside these chambers, they found evidence of what can only be described as systematic human sacrifice on an industrial scale. We're not talking about occasional ritual offerings. We're talking about organized, methodical killing that may have gone on for centuries. The altar stone, which scientists recently discovered, came not from Wales, as previously thought, but from Scotland, over 400 miles away, sits directly above the largest of these underground chambers. This 6-ton block of sandstone wasn't just decorative, it was functional. Chemical analysis of the stone revealed traces of human blood dating back thousands of years, mixed with other substances that suggest complex ritualistic practices. But it gets worse, much worse. The cremated remains that archaeologists had found over the years weren't just burial practices, they were the aftermath of these horrific ceremonies. Carbon dating reveals that these sacrificial activities continued for over 1,500 years, spanning multiple civilizations and cultures. This means thousands, possibly tens of thousands of people met their end at the supposedly peaceful monument. The most disturbing discovery came when researchers analyzed the bone fragments more closely. They found evidence of systematic torture and prolonged suffering before death. Cut marks on bones, signs of binding, and chemical traces suggest that victims were kept alive for extended periods as part of elaborate rituals. Some bones show evidence of cannibalistic practices, indicating that Stonehenge may have been the center of a death cult that consumed its victims. Even more chilling is the discovery of children's remains, some as young as 5 years old, showing similar signs of ritualistic torture and sacrifice. The sheer number of juvenile bones suggests that child sacrifice wasn't occasional, but was a regular part of whatever horrific ceremonies took place at this site. The Bell-Beaker people, who we now know were connected to Stonehenge's construction around 2400 BC, left behind more than just pottery and bronze tools. Recent DNA analysis of remains found at the site reveals that many of the victims weren't local. They were brought from across Britain and even continental Europe, suggesting a vast network dedicated to feeding this monument's appetite for human sacrifice. But here's what's truly terrifying. Similar underground chamber systems have been discovered at other stone circles across Europe. This means Stonehenge wasn't unique. It was part of a continent-wide network of death cults that may have controlled ancient European civilization for over a millennium. We're looking at evidence of the largest organized human sacrifice operation in recorded history. The reused stones from Wales aren't just evidence of ancient cooperation, they're evidence of conquest. The original stone circle in Wales was likely destroyed after its population was sacrificed to fuel Stonehenge's construction. The stones weren't moved as gifts, they were taken as trophies after the systematic elimination of entire communities. What makes this discovery so disturbing isn't just the historical implications, it's what it reveals about human nature. These weren't primitive savages acting on impulse. The level of organization, the sophisticated logistics required to transport victims from across Europe, the complex engineering of the underground chambers all point to a highly advanced civilization built entirely around death and suffering. Some researchers are now questioning whether we should continue excavating these sites. Dr. Sarah Mitchell from Cambridge University, who was part of the discovery team, has reportedly suffered psychological trauma from her findings and has called for a moratorium on further excavations. She's not alone. Several team members have requested transfers to other projects, unable to cope with the horrific reality they've uncovered. The most chilling aspect is that this death cult didn't collapse from external invasion or natural disaster. It evolved. It transformed. Some historians now believe that the practices associated with Stonehenge influenced later Celtic and Roman ritualistic traditions, meaning its dark legacy continued for thousands of years beyond the monument's active period. Perhaps most disturbing of all is what scientists found in the deepest chamber beneath the altar stone. Carved into the bedrock are detailed instructions for the rituals performed above, written in a Proto-European script that predates known writing systems by over 1,000 years. These inscriptions describe ceremonies so horrific that the research team has classified the translations and refuses to release them to the public. But leaked fragments suggest that the builders of Stonehenge believed they were feeding something beneath the earth, something that demanded regular sacrifice to prevent a catastrophe they called the Great Darkening. Whether this was metaphorical or they genuinely believed in some subterranean entity, the fact remains that they were willing to torture and kill thousands of people to appease it. The astronomical alignments that scientists once thought were calendrical weren't for tracking seasons, they were for timing these massive sacrificial events. The summer and winter solstices weren't celebrations, they were deadlines for delivering human offerings. The precision of these alignments suggests that missing these deadlines would have catastrophic consequences in their belief system. What we're looking at isn't just a rewriting of ancient history, it's a fundamental challenge to our understanding of human civilization. Stonehenge represents the pinnacle of organized evil, a monument to suffering that operated for over 1,500 years with the efficiency of a modern corporation. The tourist destination that millions visit each year sits atop what may be the largest mass grave in European history. Every stone in that circle is positioned above the remains of countless victims who died in agony to satisfy the twisted beliefs of our ancestors. The question now isn't just what other secrets lie buried beneath our most famous historical sites, but whether we're prepared to face the truth about our species' darkest chapters. Because if Stonehenge is any indication, the foundations of human civilization may be built on far more suffering than we ever imagined.
But the horror doesn't end with Stonehenge. As word of these discoveries spread through the archaeological community, researchers began re-examining other ancient monuments with fresh eyes. What they found will haunt you forever. At Newgrange in Ireland, ground-penetrating radar revealed similar underground chamber systems beneath the famous passage tomb. Initial excavations have uncovered bone fragments showing identical torture marks to those found at Stonehenge. The spiral carvings that tourists admire today aren't artistic expressions. They're actually maps showing the layout of the sacrifice chambers below. In France, the Carnac stones, those mysterious rows of standing stones, have yielded equally disturbing evidence. Between each row of stones, researchers found mass burial pits containing hundreds of skeletons. Chemical analysis shows these people were drugged with hallucinogenic compounds before being systematically executed. The stones weren't markers or calendars. They were tombstones marking the graves of an entire civilization. Even more chilling is what they discovered at Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, a site that predates Stonehenge by 6,000 years. Deep beneath the world's oldest temple complex, archaeologists found evidence that this wasn't humanity's first religious site. It was humanity's first factory of death. The circular arrangements aren't temples, they're killing floors designed for maximum efficiency in human sacrifice. Dr. Heinrich Müller from the Max Planck Institute, who has been studying these connections, believes we're looking at evidence of a prehistoric death cult that spread across the entire ancient world. His classified research, leaked by a whistleblower, suggests this organization was more sophisticated than any government that exists today. They had trade routes, communication systems, and standardized procedures for human sacrifice that were implemented across 3 continents. Here's where this story takes an even darker turn. Several governments are now actively suppressing these discoveries. The British government has classified much of the Stonehenge research under the Official Secrets Act. Why would they do this unless there's something they desperately don't want the public to know? Sources within the archaeological community, speaking on condition of anonymity, report that similar suppression is happening worldwide. The Turkish government has restricted access to Göbekli Tepe. The French authorities have limited excavations at Karnak, and the Irish government has quietly increased security at Newgrange. It's as if they're afraid of what else might be discovered. But some information has leaked out, and it's absolutely terrifying. The most shocking revelation comes from carbon dating analysis that shows these sacrificial activities didn't end in ancient times. Evidence suggests that ritualistic killings continued at these sites well into the medieval period, possibly even into the Renaissance. This means the death cult that built Stonehenge may have evolved and survived for over 4,000 years. Even more disturbing are reports of modern discoveries that authorities are desperately trying to keep secret. Construction workers renovating the visitor center at Stonehenge in 2019 allegedly discovered a chamber containing artifacts that shouldn't exist. Medieval manuscripts, Renaissance paintings, and even Victorian-era documents, all describing continuation of the ancient rituals. These workers were immediately sworn to secrecy and reportedly paid substantial sums to never speak about what they found. A former security guard at the site, who asked not to be identified, claims night excavations continue at Stonehenge under heavy military protection. He reports seeing trucks removing soil and artifacts under cover of darkness, with all personnel requiring top-secret clearance. When asked why such secrecy would be necessary for archaeological work, he simply said, "Because what they're finding proves that it never really stopped." The most chilling aspect of this cover-up is why it's happening now. Intelligence sources suggest that the discovery of these ancient networks has revealed something that threatens our understanding of modern civilization itself. The organizational structures, the communication methods, the systematic approach to human sacrifice all bear striking similarities to certain aspects of modern society. Dr. Elizabeth Hartwell, a forensic anthropologist who worked on the initial Stonehenge excavations before being mysteriously removed from the project, managed to smuggle out photographs of some inscriptions before her dismissal. These images, which she posted online before disappearing entirely, show symbols that are disturbingly familiar to anyone who studies modern occult organizations. The efficiency of the ancient death cult, its ability to operate across vast distances, its sophisticated logistics and communication networks, all suggest a level of organization that rivals modern multinational corporations. Some researchers now believe that certain aspects of this ancient system never truly disappeared, but instead evolved and integrated into modern power structures. This would explain the desperate attempts to suppress these discoveries. If evidence exists that links ancient sacrificial cults to modern organizations, the implications would be catastrophic for our understanding of contemporary society. It would mean that the foundations of our current civilization are built not just on the bones of ancient victims, but on systems that may still be operating today. The most disturbing theory, whispered about in academic circles but never officially stated, is that the astronomical alignments at Stonehenge weren't just for timing ancient rituals, but were designed to predict future dates when these ceremonies would need to be performed. If this theory is correct, then the monument isn't just a relic of past horrors, it's an active predictor of future ones. Several researchers have noted that major global catastrophes and conflicts often coincide with astronomical events that would have been significant to the Stonehenge cult. Whether this is coincidence or evidence of continued activity is impossible to determine, but the correlation is too consistent to ignore. What we're dealing with isn't just historical revelation, it's a fundamental challenge to everything we believe about human progress and civilization. The discovery at Stonehenge suggests that our ancestors weren't primitive people slowly developing civilization, but were part of a sophisticated global network built around systematic human sacrifice. The implications are staggering. If this cult operated for over 4,000 years, if it had the organizational capacity to coordinate activities across continents, if it developed systems that in some ways surpass our modern capabilities, then what does that say about human nature? What does that say about the foundations of our current world? The suppression of these discoveries by multiple governments suggests they understand the implications better than we do. They know that revealing the full truth about Stonehenge and its global network would fundamentally destabilize our understanding of human civilization. It would force us to confront the possibility that the darkest aspects of human nature aren't aberrations, but fundamental organizing principles of our species. As I finish this investigation, I have to ask, are we truly more civilized than our ancestors, or have we simply become more sophisticated at hiding our true nature? The monuments they left behind are at least honest about their purpose. What monuments will future archaeologists find of our civilization? And what will those monuments reveal about us? The truth about Stonehenge isn't just ancient history. It's a mirror reflecting the darkest possibilities of human organization and cooperation. And if the evidence of continued activity is real, if this ancient network has indeed evolved and survived into the modern era, then we're not just studying the past. We're uncovering a present danger that threatens everything we thought we knew about our world. What do you think about these shocking revelations? Do you believe governments are hiding the full truth about our ancient past? Have you noticed any strange activities at historical sites near you? Let me know in the comments below, but be careful what you share, because there are forces that don't want this information to spread. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because videos like this one have a tendency to disappear from the platform. Share this with everyone you know before it's too late. The truth about Stonehenge isn't just history. It's a warning about what humanity is truly capable of and what might still be happening in the shadows of our modern world.